So, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, and welcome to the fourth session for the Connected Educator launch day, day one. We've heard about the starter kit. We've had voices from Australia and from America kicking us off this morning. We have had a little taster of lots of different events that are running through the month. And now what we're going to do is to spotlight some of the things that New Zealand is particularly good at and can be particularly proud of in terms of the way we have harnessed digital technologies to support teachers' professional learning and bring people together as a networked community right across New Zealand. And we've got some wonderful guests who've agreed to give their time this afternoon to share their stories and tell us a little bit about what's going on across New Zealand at the moment. Just before we start with a karakia, can I just alert you to a little bit of housekeeping? Can you all please make sure that your microphones are on mute? Next to your names on the left-hand side of the screen, under participants, everyone has a little picture of a microphone, and that microphone should have a little red line through it. And at the top of the screen, you should have a microphone that's green with a little red line through it. We can certainly take questions during the session, but if you have your microphone on, we can hear you multitasking on your holiday and typing and doing lots of other things. So just looking along the list, Simon and Rachel, Nikki and Michelle and Jeanette and John and Justine and Christina, if you wouldn't mind muting your microphones, that would be fantastic. It just reduces the echo. A couple of other things, particularly for those of you who haven't been in an online webinar before, we have got there's a little icon at the top. I'm pointing to an example on the slide of a little person with their hand up. So you can use that button anytime to raise your hand or to draw attention to yourself if you want us to come to you with a question. There's still one or two people with their microphones on, people who are doing amazing things, juggling professional learning and raising children. But if you're trying to do both, could you please put your microphone down to mute? Otherwise we may have to do it for you, and I don't want to have to do that. I think it might be Nikki, if you want to mute your mic there. I think that's where the sound may be coming from. Okay. I'm just looking to see, can we please mute our microphones? If you have children in the room, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Okay. Couple of other things. Use the chat box underneath where I'm pointing now to raise questions, make comments about your thinking around the stories that are being shared. Use that to communicate with the room and certainly to share questions in there. We'll come to you as well. We may ask you to say a little bit more about your question, or certainly try and address questions as we go through. Just a heads up that we are recording these sessions and they will be archived on the Connected Educator Month site, that these sessions are also being live tweeted. Today, Rebecca Sweeney is kindly tweeting out the key points from our sessions so people can follow on Twitter as well. Anyone who presents today can claim a Connected Educator digital badge as recognition of your time and commitment, and we have a whole series of digital badges available to recognize your professional learning right through the month. There will be a quick half-minute link to an evaluation form at the end of the session. Do give us feedback. It helps us refine what we're doing throughout the month. And do pop along and make sure you've signed up for the Connected Educator newsletters, which will keep you up to date with what's happening for the next 31 days. You'll be exhausted by the end of it, but it will be worth it. So let's settle in now to our session, and then we will move into hearing from our guests. So, to start with a karakia this afternoon. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa po namu te moana, he hurahi matato I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tato ia, tato katoa, huye, tai kie. So, settling us in for this afternoon. We have an amazing group of people with us this afternoon, and we'll do formal introductions as we go along, but joining us this afternoon we have Howard Baldwin from the Ministry of Education. Apologies, Philippa, I didn't have a chance to change this slide quick enough, but representing EdChat NZ is Philippa Antipas, who has kindly stepped in for Danielle Myberg to talk about EdChat NZ. We have Trevor Storr. You have a different photograph later on in the presentation, Trevor. We have Tamara Bell, who will be talking about Te Manua Po. We have Alana Madwick, who will be talking about Light the Fire and secondary literacy. And hosting with, I'm Karen Malure-Spencer at CORE, and co-hosting with me this afternoon is Tessa Gray. So welcome all of you. The focus for this afternoon is really thinking about what New Zealand is doing already and also has planned for the next year or so in terms of supporting educators to harness digital technologies for effective professional learning. The slide that you see, I'll just take that pointer away. The slide that you see in front of you uses a quotation from the Bolstad and Gilbert Future Focused paper that came out a couple of years ago, and they looked at what future focused education would look like and how collaboration and networking was going to be a key part of it. But they also made the point that just coming together, just to be together, is really just the first step, that networking, be it face-to-face or online, is the beginning of the conversation rather than an end in itself. One of the key ideas that sits right at the heart of our New Zealand curriculum and the best evidence synthesis around professional learning is the fact that our learners keep changing and their needs change with the context. And so our professional learning is something that continues to evolve in response to what our learners need. The idea of being an adaptive expert comes from Timperley, but really is a disposition or an idea that runs right through our curriculum. That the training or the learning about how we become an educator is not something that we do once and then sits 10 years ago, but is a continually evolving process. And that inquiring and adapting to what our learners needs isn't an add-on, it's a way of professional being. That's what a modern educator needs. It's a disposition, and really it's a key idea that sits right at the heart of Connected Educator Month. It's certainly why we have jumped into this global project, because being connected both face-to-face and digitally is a crucial tool in the professional learning kete, that we can no longer just rely on the expertise being in the staff room or in our school, because to keep adapting to what our learners need, it's highly likely the expertise may also sit somewhere beyond us, and that's where those digital technologies can come in to help connect us together to make us stronger. A couple of things, the stories of how connected digital learning and professional learning has evolved over the last 10 years was captured by Vince Ham and Derek Wenmuth in the book E-Learnings. Some wonderful chapters in there from a variety of different educators right across New Zealand who were at the vanguard of the ICT developments and movements that we've seen in New Zealand that bring us to this point. And I just want to acknowledge the work of New Zealand educators who worked in that space over the last decade. And I did want to flag another key idea, that research suggests that educational clustering and networking provide opportunities for professional learning, and they can expand ideas about what is possible. And so we're hoping that this month, Connected Educator Month, that it certainly isn't the be-all and end-all, but we are hoping that it is a catalyst for many educators to either dip a toe in the water and explore online digital tools that can support their learning and the learning of their students, but also a space for people to take the next step in their professional learning journey, to mentor others, take a lead in their schools, and to find out what's possible by being part of this global initiative. So it's a month-long series of events stretching right from today right through to the 31st of October. I'm just looking over to my left to grab the link on from the Connected Educator website. The link I've just shared in the chat is a link to a calendar of just New Zealand events that have been pledged by educators, individuals and organisations that will be running throughout the whole month, and that is just the beginning. And for those of you who are keen to not sleep during October and who would like to engage in professional learning in their pyjamas, that second link takes you to the global calendar. New Zealand events are on that as well, but also events from Australia, from America, from Canada, Norway. Don't know what your Norwegian is like, but it's a global effort to provide educators with a springboard to thriving in this connected world. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first guest, who is actually sitting just across the table from me, Howard Baldwin, the Manager of Sector Engagement in Learning with Digital Technologies at the Ministry of Education. He has got years of experience both as an educator and working in the digitally connected space, particularly in Otagonet, but as an e-principal, and now is part of a team that's really gazing into the future around what the next years may bring for educators in New Zealand in this connected space. And we've invited him along this afternoon just to give us a wee heads up about, to spotlight what the ministry is focusing on in this space at the moment and what might lie ahead. And he's very graciously given his time this afternoon. So Howard, if you'd like to ping your camera on and start sharing that and have your microphone on, and over to you.
Fabulous. Thanks very much, Karen. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to be taking part in this inaugural Connected Educator Month for New Zealand teachers. This is a very special time, I think. We've got a situation developing in New Zealand where education is going to be even more connected than it has been in the past, but connected in a way that's actually going to be able to deliver equitable outcomes up and down the country. And that has been the real underpinning of government's large-scale initiatives here this afternoon. So I am just going to move quickly through a couple of slides and talk to you about some of the ministry's initiatives and government's initiatives. But firstly, sadly, this is a little bit of an interim situation because we don't have a fully formed government and we don't have a fully formed minister or ministers of education. And that in itself means that what I can talk about today doesn't possibly have some of the direction that you might be looking for. And I'm guessing that's going to come in a couple of weeks when we are able to get an idea of what the next minister's priorities are and how he or she are going to enable them. So that's still to come. But what I will say is that the report of the 21st Century Learning Reference Group, Future Focused Learning in Connected Communities, is something you should all read if you haven't read already. And you should read it because it sets out very clearly the direction that Minister Kay asked the independent group to examine. Their responses and the report itself, my feeling is, and this is just my professional feeling, it is going to set up this government for the delivery of the type of education that I think we all want, one that empowers our young people to make the most of their potential wherever they are within the country. So can I commend that to you? It's a really important read. The other thing that I'd just like to talk to you about is the managed network, and the ministry have acknowledged that connecting to the managed network and the opportunities that the managed network provide is going to be a big leap forward for a number of our teachers. We've put some material together up on the Enabling e-Learning website, which talks about deciding to connect to the network, preparing, and then after you're connected. What we're going to do is we're going to be enhancing and developing this area here. We've got more vignettes, we've got more stories, we've got more artifacts of practice coming along in the next 6 to 8 months. And we hope that that's going to provide a springboard for a lot of professional learning of teachers themselves. And it'd be just fantastic to get some more feedback on that. Karen's fiddling with the blinds here. The digger, I think, across the road is about to start again. That'll be fun. No, it stopped. Hooray. So that would be really good if you were able to have a look at that. The other thing, of course, is our, and I'm going to say, internationally recognized e-learning planning framework. As far as professional learning in this space is concerned, we at the Ministry, we want people to engage, and the best way to engage is part of a professional conversation with your principal, board of trustees, and students, the wider community, if that's appropriate. The e-learning planning framework, of course, is part of that. It's an absolutely vital professional learning tool, in our opinion. Schools should be looking at that. They should be thinking quite reflectively on how they want to implement the digital world in their own space. And they should also be thinking about what opportunities are provided when all of the connectivity, network for learning, all of the other bits and pieces are brought together. There is no use having all of this infrastructure without a clear learning intent for our young people. We believe that the e-learning planning framework can help you with that. So that's something else that we need to look at. The other thing I'd just like to draw your attention to, and I might be preaching to the choir this afternoon, I'm not sure, because obviously I don't know everybody who's connected in this afternoon or who will download this webinar and look at it offline later on. But the Virtual Learning Network is a powerful place for collaboration and learning between teachers. I have a number of feeds coming out of that into my inbox every day, and I'm privileged to be part of some of those discussions, to observe the growth and development that our teachers are able to uplift from each other through the medium of the Virtual Learning Network. We have fantastic knowledgeable people moderating and mentoring and supporting the various discussions and forums, and it is a real area of wealth of knowledge and understanding that we at the Ministry are really pleased to be supporting. So take advantage of the VLN. Again, it's an area that is continually being developed and also is one where you can share your ideas, can I say, in a pretty safe environment and receive feedback. Now, I noticed that Karen's just put up the Maori Medium e-learning planning framework, which I understand is also now online as well. So that's fantastic for our Kura and Maori Medium areas. So I'm not going to linger. The last thing you want to do is hear from somebody from the Ministry. In some respects, government continues on. We want to support you. It's probably more important for you to share your own stories. But I have had a long history in this particular space personally. It is fantastic to see the growth and development of the online and digital environment within the education in the sector. I first started out putting together Aotearoa back in 2000 and then taught online for a number of years. And I saw how the digital world moved a lot of teachers to really reflect on their pedagogy and for them to change the way that they thought about teaching and learning, and also the way that they thought about how young people learned and developed. So it is a very, very important an important thing for us to be doing. And of course, as we all know, the digital world is the world. It is the world our young people live in day to day. It's something that we all have to move in. We all have to be able to move our practice into in a more inclusive way. And the good thing about it, I believe, through being totally connected, is that you have got the power of the whole sector to help you with your work on a day-to-day basis. So in winding up, can I just again bring greetings from my colleagues at the ministry. Can I say thank you very much for the fabulous job that schools do every day for all of our young people. We've just had a celebration up the road in the National Office of 25 years of the Ministry of Education today, and it's been an interesting time to reflect back over the history of our organisation and to look at some of the highs and sadly also some of the lows. So all the best, everybody. I'm going to be here to answer any questions, but it's just been fantastic to be part of this first Connected Educators Month, and I know it's just simply going to go from strength to strength as the days pass on. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you. And Tessa's going to take over from me in a second to co-host. If you just want to mute your mic. But I did just want to take a very quick opportunity before I hand over to Tessa to thank the Ministry of Education for its support of Connected Educator Month. They have supported us with the use of the virtual learning network for a number of different online discussions and threads during the month, and there are also a range of ministry resources and sites that are being spotlighted during the month across TKI. Enabling Learning is just one of those examples, but there's a number of services and products that the ministry supplies and offers for schools that have their own dedicated professional learning events during the month as well. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Howard. And just before I hand over to Tessa, are there any particular questions for Howard at this stage? I'm just skimming back through the chat, appreciating, of course, that we're in a slightly interim situation up at the ministry and in government. But if there are no other particular questions for Howard, what I'm going to do now is hand over to my my co-host, to Tessa, who is then going to pick up the next little part of the session and introduce our next guest. So Tessa, if you want to throw yourself into the room, turn on your camera and mic, and we'll do a kind of handing over of the baton. Over to you, Tessa Gray.
Thank you, Karen. Look, I just want to say before I introduce Trevor Storr to us all, thank you, Howard. It is really exciting. I think if you look back on the chats here, I think most people are really appreciative of this networking alongside and working with the ministry. And of course, the ministry has always been there for us in schools. And, you know, the idea about communities of practice where teachers can come together and connect and communicate and collaborate is really indicative of what's happening across the virtual learning network and within the enabling e-learning space, and the Network for Learning group is also going to grow with people sharing experiences and possibly some issues that they might face so that we can all learn off each other as we trial new things. So I have to say thank you for granting us the permission and enabling a platform for us to be able to do that. I think teachers were going to find a way to do that anyway, and having the permission to be able to network in such a wonderfully large virtual staff room for everybody, I think is fantastic, especially for people that might be geographically isolated in some way. So again, thank you very much, and thank you for making yourself available to us today. Of course, if anybody else does want to chat to you as we go to introduce Trevor, that's very inviting as well, so all well and good. Look, I'm just going to jump in and introduce Trevor Storr to you, and he's flipped over with his camera on, looking very professional there, so this is running really smoothly so far, fingers crossed.
Yeah, right.
But congratulations on making it all look so wonderfully slick and professional, Trevor. Trevor works for Waimate High School as a network manager and the executive leader, the director of e-learning there, but is also probably more pointedly for today's conversation, the executive leader at NZ, Net NZ. So I just want to say thank you, Trevor, for joining us today. When I did a little search on you, I love those keywords that came up in LinkedIn about e-learning and pedagogy in online environments and network management, and then there was Linux in there, and of course the only Linux I knew was Linus from the cartoon strip, so it's possibly not the same one, and of course it's not. So having that technical background and history in there is going to be really relevant for us to learn more about what you're going to share with us this afternoon in terms of NetNZ. So welcome, Trevor. You can wow us with your technical knowledge and your e-learning pedagogy, and I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for that, Tessa. Yeah, I've been asked to share my experiences about NetNZ with you all. So if I just flick over here. NetNZ, I think I'll start off really by just describing what we are. And NetNZ really is an organisation of schools, mainly in the South Island. So we've got schools from Southland through to Marlborough, but there's a few in Auckland as well. And we've developed to provide online learning mainly for senior students in places where, because of curriculum choice or indeed sometimes because of student choice, they can't get what they want in their own schools. So at the moment we provide 45 online courses for secondary age students, level 1 through to level 3. And last year we took the decision to, rather than work as a cluster of schools, we actually formed a charitable company, and the company owns NetNZ Limited. And it's been an interesting year working as a formal company. And I think the lesson from this really is that collaboration, informal collaborations is great, but actually to really move things along, sometimes you need to formalize how you work together. So the background, as Howard actually, it was pleasing to hear him mention that he worked for Aotearoa quite a few years ago. And Aotearoa joined with Canternet, which was actually made of Cantertech and Airakinet, and we merged. So you can see in the graphic there are actually other e-learning clusters, but NetNZ is quite by far and away the largest. So how do our courses work? Well, traditional online learning that we were used to have VC gear, and teachers would meet once a week by VC and give things, to have a lesson with their students. We actually used to use the postal service quite a lot. But over the last few years, we've changed the technology a fair bit. We use Google Hangouts, Google Docs. This year, most of the courses still have been using traditional VC gear, but we've moved on a little on. Class size is anywhere between about 12 and 20. It depends on how economical it is. I'll move on to that in a moment. So I guess the most important thing is why, and I mentioned about students and how we can provide options for students where they can't get them in their own space, but our experience has been that that's only one side of it. And as Howard mentioned, that professional learning for teachers, incredibly important. What we found is that having teachers who work online has a direct impact in their own schools for their face-to-face classes. It means that in small schools, the school can retain specialist teachers because they can teach to other pupils in other schools. And that's great, not just for the students in the other schools, but for their own school as well. Some students actually prefer learning online. We've actually had students who have taken VC classes. We call them VC classes, but they've very successfully taken classes when they've had the option of taking that same class in their own school. We provide professional learning for teachers in online teaching. And I think twice a year, teachers again, get professional learning, and that works back into their own classroom. Okay, online learning is great for rejuvenating teachers, and we've actually come across many teachers who really actually enjoy this more than face-to-face learning. All right, okay. We've also submitted applications for collaborative projects for NetNZ. So in terms of how do learners and schools participate in NetNZ, we have a philosophy of any school, any learner, anywhere. And so you don't need to be a full-blown member of NetNZ to participate in this. Though because we're, if you like, a large cluster, we can actually offer enhanced services to members. So we have several categories of membership. There's recipient, which means that you can receive without offering a course, you can provide and at least receive one course. There is a cost for NetNZ membership. There's a joining fee and an annual subscription. And it's interesting because we've had discussions in the past about currencies for enrolments. And when schools collaborate together in this way, there is a cost. So if you provide a course, you get 10 enrolment places, and the actual worth of them, is given on the slide there. Right. So I mentioned earlier about some of the technologies that we used. And this last year, instead of using VC gear, which is expensive, it's a resource that takes up a lot of space. For our scholarship mentoring program, which is a program whereby we provide mentoring for level 3 students who are doing scholarship exams, we decided to go over to Google Hangouts. And what was interesting about this is because you don't have to be at school to take part in a Google Hangout. And most of our sessions took place just after school. Many of our students were actually going home and taking part in the sessions. So it's quite likely that next year, rather than using traditional VC gear, we'll use Google Hangouts where we can. And that means, of course, that it's cheaper for schools, it's more flexible. We've also been experimenting with the new Chromeboxes, and they are really good. We use Knowledge Forum and any other tools that teachers want to use. So we don't have a fixed LMS that teachers must use. They get to choose which tools they feel will work best with their learners and themselves. Right, so if anybody's got any questions, fire away.
Yes, fire away. Thank you very much, Trevor. I think there might be some real questions in here about the evolution of NetNZ and how it might link into the BLM programs of learning. So if I can just start with a question that we've got up here from Philippa, how does NetNZ compare and contrast to correspondence school? Here's one for you.
That's a really, really good question. So I guess from a learner's point of view, in the past, the correspondence school has tended to not use video conferencing type gear. The other key difference is that no, I'll start that again. The correspondence, some schools have found that NetNZ is more effective for teachers, for learners, and I don't want to be drawn into that and why. It's just that they found that it is more effective. Also, of course, by having a teacher who's taking an online class, the school itself benefits. So from a learner's point of view, we end up with a situation where they get a teacher who's teaching face-to-face classes and online classes. And I wonder if that may be the key difference, that they're getting teachers who are not wholly online.
That's a wonderful response, Trevor. I can just visualize this as the whole idea about the networking, not just within one space where everyone's got an educative institution that's common to them, but many different spaces where everyone, like Rachel's just been putting in there, thank you, Rachel, the reciprocal nature of trading off, I imagine, the expertise within and beyond schools so that it just doesn't stay in the one school environment but gets brokered between schools. Is that correct?
That's right. So the sort of teacher who tends to volunteer for online teaching is the sort of teacher who's really motivated, and so it tends to be those teachers who have got a particular desire to do this sort of teaching, and then of course we get the networking that occurs because of that within and across the schools. So it is like a large connected network of expertise. And, there are quite a few cases of schools relying on NetNZ to provide that full curriculum. So it means that a small school, particularly area schools, for example, might not deliberately employ a biology teacher because they know that they can get that, through NetNZ. Whereas another school might not employ a chemistry teacher, knowing that they can get the biology or chemistry teacher from somewhere else. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's going to help, relieve the barrier of isolation or the fact that you don't have access to those experts. One last question here. I'm just wondering if, there's one here from Michelle as well. I'm wondering if this is student-led as well. I know Rachel's got a real focus here on talking about it builds competencies in students. So are you seeing students leading this learning between themselves and possibly having background support from teachers rather than teachers at the front, but the student at the front?
So one of the things that we've really tried to work at is making sure that that 1 hour lesson is not teacher dominated, because it would be far too easy for the teacher just to hog the space. And in fact, one of the exciting things about the Network for Learning and using Google Hangouts is that the expense and the expense of the VC, and I don't mean literally that in dollars, but I mean that in booking a room and the time and not having 2 people on at the same time, disappears, which means that those sessions can turn much more into mentoring sessions than they can into teacher talk. And so it'd be quite easy to have, a teacher-led session, sure, but then later on in the week, students can actually have a tutorial led by students. One of the things that we're particularly keen to work around is developing online mentors for online learners. And we realize that online learning really, it's got unique challenges, but actually the biggest challenges are just to do with learning, and that students need somebody who they can go to when things are not going so well. But they also need somebody, let's be honest, to just poke them and say, get on with it.
It does challenge the way that we've taught traditionally, and the technologies are enabling us to do that. And I guess it's also going to challenge the way we engage with those tools as well, because you're obviously going to have a camera-to-camera interaction if you've got a Google Hangout, but there's opportunities to record that and revisit it and have ongoing threaded conversations, I'm sure. There's one quick question here from Michelle. Is NetNZ looking for volunteers in particular subject areas?
Yes, we are. Now, if you go to our website, I believe on there is a contact us page. And absolutely, yes. One of the things that we're really keen to develop is teachers who can teach in subjects who, obviously that we need, but also sometimes it's really useful for example, teachers who've just retired or teachers on maternity leave, because we can actually pay you by the course rather than, a full-time position.
Thank you, Trevor. And I know there's going to be lots of ongoing questions where people are going to want to network with you and connect beyond today. I'm just mindful of the time moving on. We've got Philippa up next. But we've also got a comment here from Justine Hughes saying it fits in so well with her online communities of practice research. So there may well be people who want to tap into more of the story, find out the future implications for themselves. They may not be in the southern area, so it might be interesting to see where this platform's from here. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say? Karen, would you like to say anything before we move on? Okay, all good. Look, Trevor, that's absolutely fantastic. I've learned so much in a very short amount of time. Thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, those ongoing conversations. Rachel, thank you so much for supporting Trevor. Did you want to say something, Trevor? And Karen, you're right, a wee taster. So Trevor, thank you so much, looking really good there. And Rachel, thank you for the background support there as well, because you work inside the Virtual Learning Network primary area as well. I'd just like to say welcome to Philippa. We're having a nice taster session with everybody this afternoon. Philippa is wonderfully illustrated there by one of her students and is looking really good, is actually stepping in for us. Replacing Danielle, who couldn't make it this afternoon. So Philippa, thank you so kindly for jumping in, and you've got your webcam on there ready to go, and hopefully your microphone's ready to go as well. I just did a little search on Philippa. and came up with some of these keywords here, and one of them was the Future Learning Leader at Samuel Marsden Collegiate School, and I thought Future Learning Leader was such a fantastic title. And then when I read on, it said to lead professional learning into shifting pedagogy to incorporate future learning strategies is proving to be exciting, challenging and invigorating. And Philippa works in a way to support professional learning for her colleagues, runs e-learning workshops and blogs about the inquiry process into shifting classroom practice. And all those keywords there are just fantastic. So Philippa is going to talk to us a little bit more about EdChat NZ, which Danielle launched and has become one of those networks that are supportive, inspirational for educators across New Zealand and beyond. And she wrote here that Twitter chats regularly trend on Twitter, and they trend even out tweeting the royals. So on that note, I'm going to leave it to you, Philippa, and I'm going to plonk your blog into the chat there so that people can see what you've been blogging about teacher inquiry. Kia ora, Philippa, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Kia ora, thank you, Tessa. Yes, I'm sorry for those of you who are hoping to see Danielle here, but I am the secretary for EdChat NZ, so hopefully I can do justice to the EdChat NZ team. As Tessa said, I teach at Samuel Marsden Collegiate School in Wellington. That's my day job, and I jokingly call in a non-dodgy fashion. I hesitate to specify. My night job is hanging out with the EdChat NZ team. So just a few words really about what EdChat NZ is all about. So it is mostly an online community of teachers, and we have fortnightly Twitter chats hosted by Danielle Myberg, who's at Hobsonville Point Secondary School in Auckland, and she tweets at Miss D the teacher. We discuss educational topics that are voted on by teachers, and one of the things I really love about EdChat NZ and find so incredibly powerful is you really would be hard pushed to find a more democratic organisation, community than EdChat NZ. It's completely flat, it's completely non-hierarchical, it's completely cross-sector. I love how we have everybody from pre-service teachers to early childhood educators, primary, secondary, tertiary. It's really amazing. If we respect your ideas, it doesn't matter if you're a head of department to a first year and everything in between. So I think that's really exciting. EdChat NZ, we call it our little hashtag that could. Danielle founded it in October of 2012, so it's coming up to our birthday. And really what EdChat NZ aims to do is to build a network of supportive, inspirational educators who collaborate and share for the good of students, really. And so picking up on those themes of Connected Educator Month of collaboration and networking is key to what we do. And those of us associated with EdChat NZ have such pride in the community and really get a lot of joy from it, actually. So something exciting that we did this year is in August we had our very first EdChat NZ conference. And I think that actually the EdChat NZ conference really embodies, or if you like, personifies connected education or connected educators. It was completely organised online via Google Hangouts with 7 teachers from across New Zealand. We had actually never met as a group face-to-face until the morning of EdChat NZ, and that rather charming picture, top left, is our grelfie, our group selfie that we took on stage during Danielle's keynote address, and those are the 7 people who kind of helped organise the conference, but really it was actually about professional learning for teachers by teachers. And Danielle's vision for the conference was that it would be low cost but extremely high quality, and I think that the delegates, and over 300 people attended, would agree that those aims were well and truly met. Tickets were a mere $20. I think we actually set a new kind of mold really for conferences. Was really exciting to bring together so many different stakeholders in education. We had wonderful people from core education, from cognition, from NZCER, from NZQA, the Qualifications Authority, from the ministry, from teacher unions, and even politicians. And one of the images on your screen there is of Claire Amos hosting a political debate, because of course it was the forerunner to our national elections, which were just recently held, as Howard intimated. The conference really aimed to empower teachers. We wanted to encourage people to share. We wanted connections to be strengthened, and we really wanted to validate EdChat NZ as a community, and I think we definitely met those as well. Danielle's keynote or opening address talked about the lone nut, and EdChat NZ is a home for all the lone nuts out there, and I think that was one of the things that was so powerful about EdChat NZ. I jokingly said that the sound of EdChat NZ was actually the thing that really brought it most home to me, and the sound of EdChat NZ was a oh, because we had lanyards which had our personalized Twitter profile on, and so as people connected faces to names and to Twitter handles, there was just this oh you're blah blah, and so that was really really fun. It was really fun and really inspiring. So where to next for EdChat NZ? Well, the conference saw Twitter eggs hatching and blogs springing forth, and we've actually had a range of kind of niche chats. You can see in the image there sort of an icon for IngChat NZ and SciChat NZ. I know there's math chats and various other chats as well, and really we're really proud to see those springing out of EdChat NZ, because it actually embodies the open access to on-demand, ubiquitous professional learning that you can engage with through Twitter and through our little hashtag EdChatNZ. And so what we're really looking to do now is to build the snowball. Danielle is currently drafting a constitution, a guiding document, a strategic plan, so that we have a really clearly articulated where to from here. But we really want to continue to build our community. We want to be that support network for the lone nuts in schools, and to bring on board not yet connected teachers. We've got that. Which is going
Thank you. It is the drives it. Like you
Kia ora, Tess. Thumbs up, you can all hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, nei te mihi mahana I mihi kona ki o koutou katoa, ko Tamara Bell tōku ingoa he kai takawanga mo te whānau o Core Education. As Tessa beautifully introduced me, my name's Tamara and I work for Core Education. I'm going to quickly talk to you about one of the projects I was involved in for the last 3 years called Te Manua Pou. It unfortunately finished at the end of last year. It was a 3-year contract, but there's so much gold that came out of this project. So very blessed to be able to come today and share all about that gold with you. So Te Manua Pou was born from a ministry idea that te reo Māori, majority of our Māori tamariki sit in our English medium schools, and we have a lot of need from our teachers in these schools to get some support around teaching te reo Māori for Māori learners and for all. Fortunately, these isolated. Manua Pou was born some around it in the sense that year 0 to in English medium. And from perfectly so they could apply it of this take up to 100 teachers a year. When we first sort of looked at the amount, will we get it's learning really we were turning of huge like applying for this program, and unfortunately sorry just how network
and Manawa
Group for our
this afternoon. The varied use of digital channels could
Talofa lava, malolele, kirana, and warm Pacific greetings to everyone. It's so great to be here and before collaborate. All I live by the Wakatoki because when I think
Fire
about our
initiative. A little bit more, Alana, about how we
shared
can,
with every school,
and
I
I completely
guess,
agree that absolute
nationally
value of
and within
face-to-face.
school
That's partly why
communities
we've
is
really
a lot of schools
worked hard to
still
make sure
have
we
a
have,
lot
even
to
just having
learn about
cameras on
how
this
best to
afternoon,
meet
so
the
making it
needs
easier
of
for
our
people to connect
Pacifica learners from
face-to-face
all those
online, but
different
being able
islands out
to
there in the
how
Pacific.
we can
So
take that
the
light the
different
fire
buckets
idea
that
and put another
our
match to it
vehicles, I
throughout the
guess,
month
to
as we go
share
through some wonderful
inquiry
ideas
into
there,
how best to meet
and
the
great
needs of all of our
that
priority
theme is
learners,
coming
the
through
secondary literacy
the
mailing
online
list,
communities
which I'll
that we
talk
see
about it,
online,
Light the
and
Fire.
great to have a maths teacher
It's
talking
something
about
that
literacy. As an English
eventuated out
teacher,
of
it's
being on the
great to
secondary
hear the maths
literacy
teacher
mailing
talking
list.
about
You've
literacy.
all talked about Twitter and
So,
how we could learn through
I
Facebook.
and thank you
in
so
every
much. Time this massively commitment to the here today. Is draw session to a close. We just tiptoe o'clock